Once upon a time, there was a philosopher named Blaise Pascal who famously said, "All of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone." It sounds like an exaggeration, doesn't it? But what if there's more truth to that statement than we realize? Today, we are constantly bombarded with notifications, news, and the relentless demands of social media. We're rarely truly alone. But what if the real secret to understanding ourselves, finding happiness, and even living a meaningful life lies in embracing solitude rather than shying away from it? The world doesn't really prepare us for solitude. From an early age, we are conditioned to seek connection, to socialize, and to view being alone as something negative, something reserved for those who are unwanted. But what if solitude is, in fact, a path to something profound? In this video, we're going to dive into the philosophy of solitude. Why, contrary to popular belief, it may be better to be alone. We'll explore what makes solitude so crucial for personal growth, creativity, and inner peace. And before we dive any deeper, if you're finding value in this already, consider giving this video a thumbs up. It doesn't cost you anything, but it makes a world of difference for me. Let's begin. Solitude is often mistaken for loneliness, but these two are worlds apart. Loneliness is the absence of connection, a sense of being adrift without meaningful contact. Solitude, on the other hand, is a choice. It's the state of being alone, but not lonely. In solitude, we're not missing something, we're gaining something. The space we create in solitude is an invitation to reconnect with our true selves. Instead of seeing solitude as a void to be filled, it becomes a canvas where we can paint the nuances of our inner world. To truly appreciate solitude, let's go back to ancient times. In ancient China, there was a philosopher named Laozi, often considered the founder of Taoism. Laozi praised the virtues of solitude, seeing it as an opportunity to become one with the Tao, the natural flow of the universe. In solitude, there's a chance to observe, to think deeply, and to discover the rhythm of life itself. Similarly, the Greek philosopher Diogenes, who lived a minimalist life in a barrel, saw solitude as a way to detach from society's expectations and live according to one's own values. Before I proceed, count yourself as an exception for making it this far into the video. Now that you have shown how strong you are, let's make it till the end of the video. Our modern world, with all its advancements, has, paradoxically, left many feeling disconnected. We have an abundance of tools to connect, yet genuine connection is scarce. When we're constantly surrounded by noise, literal and figurative, we lose sight of our own thoughts and desires. We become reflections of what others expect of us, rather than who we truly are. This is where solitude comes in as a savior. The idea of embracing solitude isn't about rejecting others, or living in total isolation. Instead, it's about finding moments to be with yourself, to be in your own company. Take the example of the transcendentalist philosopher Henry David Thoreau, who spent 2 years in a small cabin near Walden Pond, simply being alone, living off the land, and writing about the experience. He wasn't running away from humanity, he was running towards himself. When we're alone, we're free to think without interruption, and this brings us to creativity. Many of history's most brilliant creators and thinkers found their inspiration in solitude. Beethoven, for instance, often went on long, solitary walks in nature to find musical inspiration. Nikola Tesla, known for his incredible inventions, once mentioned that the best ideas come when a person is alone. The space provided by solitude is fertile ground for creativity. a mental playground where ideas can grow freely, untainted by the judgment or influence of others. Yet, why does solitude often get such a bad reputation? Perhaps it's because we're afraid of what we might discover. In solitude, we are confronted with our thoughts, all the messy, complex, and sometimes uncomfortable parts of ourselves. The distractions that we use to avoid introspection are stripped away. But this discomfort is also where growth begins. The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche spoke of the necessity of struggle. It's in facing ourselves, without any distractions, that we come to understand who we really are and what we value. Solitude allows for clarity in a world where we're constantly pressured to be productive. We often lose track of what matters to us. It's only in solitude that we can truly ask ourselves, what do I want? What makes me happy? We can silence the voices that tell us what we should do, and finally listen to our own. This kind of clarity doesn't just make life more fulfilling. It gives us the courage to live authentically without being enslaved by the opinions of others. The Stoics were also advocates of solitude. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, often spoke of the importance of retreating into oneself. He wrote, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." The Stoics believed that understanding oneself was the key to living in harmony with nature and society. This kind of introspection can only come when we take the time to sit with our thoughts. There's something incredibly empowering about being alone. It means you are enough. You don't need the constant validation of others to feel fulfilled. Solitude teaches us self-reliance. It's a space where we realize that we are capable of facing whatever comes our way. It's in these quiet moments that we learn to trust ourselves. And that trust becomes a foundation for everything else in life. Our relationships, our work, our purpose. But solitude isn't just about personal growth, it's also about connection. This might sound contradictory, but hear me out. When we spend time alone, we learn to value the moments we have with others. We don't cling to relationships out of fear of being alone. We appreciate them for what they are. We bring our whole, authentic selves to others because we've taken the time to understand who that self is. In this way, solitude enriches our relationships, making them deeper and more meaningful. In the Buddhist tradition, there's a concept called noble silence. It's the practice of remaining silent and turning inward, often in meditation. This silence isn't empty. It's rich with insight. When we are alone, we can observe our thoughts, our desires, our fears, without the need to act on them. This kind of observation leads to wisdom. It's why many Buddhist monks spend years in seclusion, not to escape the world, but to understand it more deeply. Think of solitude like a detox for the mind. Just as we might fast to cleanse our bodies, solitude allows us to cleanse our minds of unnecessary clutter. In the silence, we can untangle the web of thoughts that so often consume us. We can distinguish between what truly matters and what is merely noise, and in doing so, we find a deeper sense of peace. Solitude also helps in fostering resilience. When we're alone, we learn to navigate our own emotional landscape without leaning on others for constant support. This builds a kind of inner strength that can't be easily shaken. It's the ability to face challenges head on, knowing that we have the tools within ourselves to cope. This resilience is what makes solitude not just a practice, but a profound source of empowerment. However, it's important to understand that solitude doesn't mean complete withdrawal. It's about balance. It's about taking time to recharge, to reconnect with ourselves, so that when we do return to the world, we bring something valuable. Sense of calm, understanding, and authenticity. The poet Rainer Maria Rilke once said, "A person should never be afraid of being alone, because being alone is an opportunity to grow stronger." This is the essence of solitude. It strengthens us, it helps us grow. And while solitude may not come naturally to everyone, especially in a culture that often stigmatizes it, it's a skill worth cultivating. Start small, maybe just 5 minutes a day without distractions, without your phone, without any noise. Gradually, you might find that you look forward to these moments. You may even crave them. It's in these quiet spaces that the magic happens, that we rediscover the parts of ourselves we've long neglected. Solitude also brings us face to face with our passions. When we're alone, we have the time to explore our interests without the influence or judgment of others. Whether it's picking up a paintbrush, writing in a journal, or simply daydreaming, solitude provides the freedom to explore what genuinely excites us. It's in these solitary moments that many people find their true calling, because there's no one else to impress, no expectations to meet, just pure, unfiltered exploration. Moreover, solitude allows us to embrace our emotions fully. In the hustle and bustle of daily life, it's easy to suppress how we truly feel. We might be sad, anxious, or even joyful, but often we don't take the time to fully experience these emotions. Solitude gives us that time. It allows us to sit with our feelings, to understand them, and ultimately, to process them in a healthy way. This emotional awareness is crucial for our well-being, as it leads to a more balanced and mindful life. To conclude, the philosophy of solitude isn't about isolation, it's about connection. Connection to oneself, to one's values, and to the quiet truth that we are enough, just as we are. In a world that tells us to constantly be in motion, solitude offers stillness. In a world that tells us we need more, solitude tells us we already have enough. And in a world that often tells us we are not enough, solitude is a gentle reminder that we are. Thank you for taking this journey with me. If you've made it this far, I want you to comment the word stillness down below so I know you've watched till this point. I hope this exploration of solitude has been meaningful for you, and perhaps even inspired you to embrace moments of aloneness in your own life. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it, share it with someone who might need to hear this, and of course, subscribe for more philosophical explorations. Until next time, remember, solitude is not a void to be filled, but a space to be embraced. Stay curious, stay brave, and don't be afraid to be alone.